Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Boitumelo Mohulatsi. For those of you who are new here and for all my returning subscribers, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. So on today's episode, we have a very, very special person, one of my favorite individuals in this entire world. We have Boitumelo Mohulatsi. We are going to talk about a condition that a lot of women actually live with. I think when I found out about this condition, it was because people around me had it, and it was like a lot. We are going to talk about fibroids, and Boitumelo is going to tell us her journey with living with fibroids, how she got diagnosed with fibroids, and how she just lives with this condition. So, I'm not in the medical profession, but she is. So I can show everything that we're going to say today is accurate.
I hope. It's factually based.
But one thing that I don't want to do, something that I want to achieve with this YouTube channel is that I want this content to be relatable as possible. So I don't want to bombard people with a lot of science.
Yep.
So where I can, if we can just make it easy so that people can relate, then that's great. But yeah, let me just cut to the chase. Let's talk about fibroids.
Yeah.
What fibroids are, what causes them, and the works. Over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone. So fibroids are it's like a growth.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to put it, and it's non-cancerous.
Yeah.
That's the caring the gist about fibroids. It's non-cancerous and it's a growth. It can grow anywhere around in your uterus. So it can be outside the uterus, can be in the uterus, different linings of the uterus. So that would determine what kind of a fibroid you have depending where it grows. In terms of what causes fibroids, I think like most reproductive conditions, you have risk factors, you have contributing factors, but you don't have exact causes that we could say if you eat a banana, it's going to cause a fibroid. So you're talking obesity, women of color. For some reason, it's predominant in women of color. I'm not sure why. I think just like people would say cancers are predominant in white or Caucasian. It's one of those. Family history. If you've got a family history of fibroids, definitely it follows the same pattern. But as to the exact causes, it's non-existent. We don't know.
That's actually quite scary. I think with endometriosis, we just don't know.
We just don't know. Exactly.
For me, I think what's scary is, or something that I really don't want to take is the family history type of thing, because I feel like, okay, fine, they've lived with fibroids, but then what was the cause? Like what happened, and what?
Because something should have caused it. Exactly.
So I think that's very scary.
And I think sometimes when we say family history, it sort of summarizes it.
Like you're supposed to have it.
You're supposed, because it's in your bloodline. But what is it about my bloodline that makes? Exactly. So. I think that summarizes what fibroids are. It's all about.
And when did you get diagnosed with fibroids?
Sure. I got diagnosed 2016, 17, because I was doing by mistake, not that I was out there trying to figure out why this was happening. No, I just went for a medical checkup because it was for a job. It was job related. And then when I went to my GP for the blood test and all that, when he did the physical examination, she was like, what's this ball? Then he referred me for a sauna to a gynae. And then when I did a sauna, that's when I first found out that I've got 2 small fibroids. I think then they were like 2 centimeters each. I think it was 2.
It was 2,
But like I said, it was for a job. So I was on my way to work in Saudi. So I left. It didn't at all impact on me getting the job or not, because it's really not dilapidated. It wasn't at that point. So then it's something that I forgot, honestly. There was nothing I could do about it. And as always, the first thing that the sonographer, the lady who did the sauna at that time, said to me, "Do you have kids?" I said no. She said, "Well, you better hurry." I'm like, you know the usual. You better hurry. I'm like, well, no. And no, it's not. Not in the plans. It's not in the plan.
Yeah.
So it's something that I forgot about literally.
Yeah.
I think after 2 years, I had come back home.
Yeah.
I went for a review because I wanted to find out where the fibroids sitting. So I went for another sauna. I went to a gynae, yes. And then when she did a physical exam, she was like, your bladder is so huge. Like, there's nothing in my bladder, I peed.
You reminded me of it. You reminded me of when I went to like my first gynae appointment, and he was like, do you need to go pee?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just peed.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something.
Right. And it's funny because even though I'm in the medical field, I could always feel like during my PMS week, during my period, I'll have this little bump.
Yeah.
And for me, it was natural. I'd so gotten used to it that it looked natural, you know?
Like what they say that when you're on your period, you get bloated.
You get bloated.
Yeah.
So for me, it was normal. I was like, I know I get it PMS week during periods, and then
that's it.
and then that's it. So then when I went for the review, then we did the ultrasound again, and then it had grown. So I think those two fibroids had actually fused. Yeah, they became one fibroid. Don't ask me how, because and I think I can say it factually because I had a sauna pre and I had a sauna now, and it was not two, it was one huge. Yeah, it was one huge fibroid. Completely stretched my uterus because it occupies most of the space in
Oh
the
my
uterus.
goodness.
So that's how I got diagnosed. But the diagnosis didn't bother me because you know what's the other thing? Like you said in your previous channel, in your previous YouTube videos, we sort of grow up thinking this is normal, like your heavy period, the period pain. So you don't think you are going through something that's exclusive. So for me, I'm like, okay, the other person goes through this. So what's with these five? So
that's just it.
That's how I got diagnosed.
Sure. Yeah. And how is it living with this condition? Is it debilitating? Are the pains debilitating?
I think also, well, for me personally, it was at a different stage of my personal life. Fibroids affected me differently. So when I was single and it was just periods, really didn't bother me. There was nothing to it. When I got married and now there's sexual intercourse, then the pain starts affecting you, but it didn't bother me then because you understand. So mostly it was the heavy period pains, the heavy bleeding. Oh my gosh, the bleeding. Like the first 3 days of my periods, I would probably wake up 3 or 4 times a night. And it would be a miracle if I don't have to wake up and wash the sheets and pajamas. That's how heavy the bleeding is. And so the bleeding, the period pains, painful sexual intercourse. Painful. Well, also what I read is that it depends on the location of your fibroid. So mine is anterior, so it's like in the front, right? So that also plays a role. I think for me those were the worst ones. The worst symptoms that I experienced.
So the conversation you had with your husband, as you say you're married, when you told him that you had fibroids, how was it? Because I remember I didn't know that I had endometriosis until I got married and we were trying for a baby. That's when I was like, let me go to the gynae after trying for I think 6 months.
Something is wrong.
Yeah, let me go see what's happening. So how was the conversation with your husband?
So we had a conversation before. I told him like in passing, you know, when I did a medical exam, they said I've got fibroids, but he didn't take it to hate. He didn't even know what fibroids are, and it was literally a conversation in passing. When I went to the gynae for the review, we went together, and then so when he went, I think then he sort of understood this is something that's huge. There's something there. So he read up on it because he was telling me there's different types of fibroids.
I love him for that. I know he's gonna watch this.
So we were reading up on. He was reading up on the fibroids, and when we spoke about it, I think firstly the symptoms started to make sense to him. Every month this is literally what I go through. Our conversations when we were talking with the gynae about what does this mean in terms of having a baby, I think the first thing was the fear, right? Because the gynae was like, I would not advise you guys to try and conceive with this fibroid this big. We first need to get rid of it. And then there was the other conversation of now the treatment options that we had, because I didn't want to have surgery, because the first recommendation was surgery to remove it. it. So that's like 6 weeks recovery just to remove a fibroid, and no one can tell me that the recurrence rate is high.
Yeah.
So I could remove it today and 2
then
months
comes
it's
the
back.
tomorrow.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I also felt my gynae was not fair in that regard.
Yeah.
Like in terms of giving me all the treatment options that I have, and then I could choose what could work for me. The only one she put on the table was have surgery, remove it, and then try and conceive in 6 months after that. And usually, you know, it works. So yeah, the conversation with hubby was first talking about the fibroid, then the symptoms, then the us conceiving and all that. And I think the minute the gynae talks about conceiving, like being able to conceive or not with the fibroid, it changes the tone already. Instead of us first dealing with this, we want to deal with it because we want to. So I felt that was also it put us in a corner. It put us in a corner.
And I think it happens for so many of us that the first thing we are told is surgery, and then you'll be able to fall, you know, pregnant. Because I remember with me, that was the conversation with the gynae that yes, in as much as I went to him because we were trying to conceive, but he was just like, surgery, then we're gonna put you on a diet,
then you conceive.
But also then he didn't explain to me that it reoccurred. So it was only after I was done with this medication that I'm like, okay, what is happening now? I go to the hospital and then I have to undergo another surgery because it reoccurred. And I didn't even know that it reoccurred. So I think if we can be given, as you said, the different treatment options available, and also then be told that this can reoccur, but if it does reoccur, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we have available. But we do get put in a corner.
And it also prepares you mentally. Like, let me, rather, don't give me false hope. Like you're saying that I'm going to remove this, then change the diet, then fall pregnant. Then if it doesn't happen, then it's another. I don't think, like they take it for granted what a stumbling block it is mentally to overcome, to get to the point where you say, I'm trying again. It's a lot. It's a lot.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. And now conversations around fibroids or reproductive issues with your friends, how has that changed, or has it changed? Or
sure, a lot. You know, I think we always say, stop asking people when are you having babies, like it's none of your business. But I think in my circle, I don't think it was a thing. Even with my family, it was never a thing, this thing of when are you having kids. No, but the issues then that we have, reproductive issues that we have, made it like so it's a lot, guys. All of us like no one is just popping babies in jail without issues. All of us it's a lot. It's a lot. But I think it made it easier within our circle, because then you don't feel like something is wrong with you. Because for somebody else, like for a group of friends who don't have issues like that, and I was going to be the only one, it probably would have added more pressure. I would probably have felt, why me? You know, so it has never been a thing, the thing of why me, because like it's a support group.
Really? And we didn't even
exactly.
We didn't even intend on starting. It just happened.
It just happened.
We were literally thrown. I don't know. And you know, we've been friends for such a long time. Like we started off when we were very young. And I think God was just like, I'm gonna group you guys together. You know, because we met at church. Like, I'm gonna group these ones together.
They're gonna need each other.
Oh my goodness. What else do you want to share about fibroids?
Sure, I think the different treatment modalities that are available, right? So when we were researching, I then found out about embolization, uterine embolization procedure. So it's not as invasive as the surgery where they cut and literally dig and remove or whatever. Embolization, it's like we call it a cath lab procedure. So yes, they do give you anesthesia, but it's less invasive because it's like just a needle going through in your groin, and then they inject some microparticles into the blood. So they will first, you'll have an MRI scan, and they will establish the position of the fibroid, and then they will also determine the blood supply, like which vessels are directly supplying the fibroid, because fibroid feeds on your blood supply. Exactly. So then they inject those, and then over time, so because you're cutting blood supply, the tissue is supposed to die. So the whole point is to shrink the fibroid and then let it die, basically. So it takes time. The shrinking takes time. The fibroid dying takes time. I've had a repeat scan and it's shrinking. Me and my gynae don't seem to agree on on the level and the pace. And that's the thing. I feel like don't ever let people undermine the level of advocacy that you have over your own health. I can't. Like, I've never wanted to be put in a position where you get to tell me what to do about my body. No. Like, the fact that it's my body and I've lived with it for so long has to count for something, you know? So it's that. So me and my gynae are not agreeing. She thinks the shrinking is too slow. And I think also what helps is that I don't feel under pressure. Whether it's to conceive and even the conversation when we have it, Lehabi, I don't feel under pressure. There's no pressure around me from my circle, be it family, be it friends. So I'm not gonna try and override, because the bottom line for me is I still believe a child is a gift from God. And that is why, like you said, you could have severe endometriosis, somebody could have like the least the stage one and conceive, that the severe one can conceive. So even with all like your ticks and checks, it still does not mean 1 + 1 is 2 when it comes to reproduction. So take it step by step. I think it will happen when it's supposed to happen. What I'm happy about is that the fibroid embolization procedure has minimized my symptoms, and that has helped. I don't wake up 3 or 4 times a night. I'm not crying because of period pains. At the most, I'll drink a Panado if I'm feeling for a day, like 2 Panados for the day, and that's it. So my symptoms are better, and for me, that's more than enough now.
It's a step forward.
It's a step forward.
And exactly. Telling you that guys, this is another conversation we need to have, guys, separately. The advice that we receive from the medical field sometimes is really
often riddled with fear. Often riddled with fear.
And then you mentioned something about the fibroid. It growing is because of the blood supply, and then you mentioned that your gynae mentioned that before you conceive, we need to remove the fibroid. What impact does it have if you were to conceive with the fibroid?
So they're saying, apparently, if, let's say without the fibroid embolization procedure, you've not done anything on the fibroid. They're saying the fibroid, depending how big is it, it competes with the baby for space, number one, and then it competes for blood supply. Because also with the hormonal changes when you're pregnant, the hormones feed the fibroid. So the baby grows, the fibroid grows. So it's a space competition, you know? And also the location. So if your fibroid is directly inside the uterus, that obviously creates more problem because it's directly.
So it takes over this. Oh gosh, and I can just imagine the more, because we're supplying blood to the baby.
Yes, but the fibroid is also feeding off the so it's space in the blood supply too.
That's hectic. Why do we not talk about these things? Why did it take us so long to get to a point where we are comfortable enough to talk about these conditions?
I think with knowledge. I think the more you become knowledgeable about something, you get to a point where you want to share it. Acceptance. When you accept this is where I am in life, it doesn't become a tool that people can use against you. Because I think the fear is always a riddle against, if I tell my story, then people can use it against me. But once I've accepted, this is my journey, it's part of my journey, it's not the destination. So many things can change. So your life cannot be all fibroids. But also, I think for the younger generations coming, that they can, the earlier the better. When you are 16 already and you are doing your pap smears, when you get to 18, 20, because like being, what do they say, 4 wonders? Something about knowledge. But when you know, when you know, you are able to act better. That's the whole point. When you know, you're able to act better. So you shouldn't be discovering your reproductive health issues at age 30, 35. No, you shouldn't.
And
so
that has actually been our case.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
We learned about them so late.
So much later.
And like already we're in marriage.
Yes.
Or your guys are talking about marriage. And it's no, but you're completely right about the earlier the better.
So the earlier the better.
Yeah.
So I think for me the biggest thing is acceptance.
Yeah.
Because we fear, what if I tell my story, then how do people look at me? Fibroid is not me. Fibroid is a part of my life. And if I can share my journey to make someone else's journey easier, by all means.
By all means. I love that. I really love. I think it took me a while to get to a point of recording my first video, because I think I always asked myself, okay, so I'm going to tell my story. People are going to know about my story. Why am I going to be seen as that girl that has endometriosis? But then I had to get to a point where I'm like, I'm doing this because I want people to learn. I want people to know, and I want the people coming after me to know that it's okay to start going to the gynae at an early age. Because another thing that gets us to a point where we learn about our reproductive issues late is the fact that when you are 16 and you want to go to the gynae, you're already thinking you're sexually active.
Yes, exactly.
So
the misconceptions around it. Yeah, the misconceptions around it.
Sure.
So at some point something has to break, and unfortunately if you are the change maker, you're gonna have to step into uncomfortable settings. Exactly. That's the only way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we are enjoying life, living with the fibroids.
Yeah. Hey, I only remember I have fibroids when it's like that time of the month. Otherwise, I've forgotten about these fibroids. I've literally forgotten about these fibroids. Yeah. So I can only hope it will get better. So they advise, if you've had fibroid embolization, you repeat your scans, your first scan after a year, and then after that every 6 months to see just how much is shrinking. Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know any other. Hey, I'm trying to think if when I researched, I saw other treatment modalities, but I don't remember. Of course, diet goes with everything. For every illness, by all means, diet let's eat right, because so that your body can do what it's actually designed to do.
You mentioned fibroids and women of color. So when I was reading up about women of color, something interesting came up, and they spoke about relaxers.
Relaxers?
Yeah, like
it is a hair.
Wow. So I wanted to ask you. I was so blown away. Well, it's speculation, because we get to a point where we want to straighten our hair, So it was speculated that there is something in those, like chemicals in those relaxers that actually
that's interesting.
So I wanted to check is that
I've actually never heard about it. I've never read about it. Sure, but that's interesting.
It's very interesting. Because with endometriosis, there are certain products that when I use them, they make me feel a bit nausea, right? And when I read up that there are certain products that we're not supposed to use, I didn't know, but when I read up, I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Like I would use a certain product cleaning, and I'm literally feeling like something, I'm off balance. So that's what I wanted to know, is what I read about relaxers. Is it?
I have no idea.
We need to check that out.
But I guess that's how complex the human body is. The human body is complex. Fearfully and wonderfully made. It's really complex. I'm telling you.
I think.
That's the fibroid.
That's the fibroid. You can live and enjoy life with them.
The thing, what I learned during the whole process of dealing with the fibroid, because it was so consuming, that period of trying to decide how to intervene, like what's the next stage, was so consuming. But then I realized, just because one part of your life is like not working out how you had planned, doesn't mean the rest of your life has stopped. No. And unfortunately, all other, you could be failing in one aspect, but there's so much that's also going right. So don't lose your focus trying to focus on this one issue. It's life. It all works out in the end.
And how do we then try and like navigate that? Because you're a very positive person. Right? People say that I'm positive, but I think you're the most positive person in our group. So how did you get to a point where you just decided that I'm not gonna let this condition consume me, and I'm going to live life to the best of my ability?
Sure. I think the one thing that has got me rooted is I know who God says I am, and that keeps me so grounded. Like I go back, it can be tricky, it can be hard, and that's just how life is. It gets tricky and it gets hard, but when I spend time with God, He always reassures me of what I am, what He says I am, and that's the bottom line. So sometimes what God has told you doesn't speak to the circumstances around you, and that's what faith is. Because if what God says and what I see speak together, it doesn't require faith. It just requires me to live day to day. But you need something that you go back into that reminds you that you are not fibroids. That if you believe me for it and my word says I will do it, then I will do it at my time. And you learn as hard. And I'm not saying every day is like, whoo, we winning. No, it's not like that. But every day I've got a responsibility to remind myself this is what God says. And it comes in different ways. Sometimes it's in the form of a song that reminds you, that gets you up. Sometimes it's in the form of a conversation with a friend. Sometimes it comes in different forms, but God is always speaking. And I know for a fact that it's not anyone's portion to be living a life that's drained, dilapidated. No, God wants more for you. Abundance, right? Of mind, body, and spirit, of everything. Like that's your portion. But circumstances around you will always try to not make you realize or make you forget what is it that
try to throw you off.
You off. So literally every day, you take your cross and you carry on to say, this is happening, but your 1, 2, 3, 4 is going well. And obviously the support of a partner, because in our home it's never a conversation that we feel like we're running out of time.
I'm glad.
That we're running out of time or wana or whatever. No, we just adopt other people's babies and they come here and expect to send out when it's time to go back. So the support,
it goes
undoubtedly goes a long way. That I never go home and my mother-in-law is like, Auntie,
what's going on, right? There's people who actually understand, and really that as I said, it goes a long way, and it carries us so much. It carries us so much.
Definitely.
It really does. Oh man, this has been very insightful. Lovely.
This was therapeutic.
All right. We are going to leave it there. If there's more information, as we said, our group, guys, a lot.
Good tricky.
So I hope I'll have another section where I sit down and we talk more about fibroids, because as you said, there are different kinds. You get them in your uterus, outside of the uterus. So there will be more conversations where we talk about where some people have fibroids in different locations, so that we can just
and what they experience,
because obviously we have different experiences,
and people who went on to actually have babies with fibroids.
Like, how was that journey? Because you can just imagine baby and this fibroid competing, blood supply and everything. But we'll definitely have more conversations around fibroids. We are not going to stop having these conversations. We are going to, you said something very powerful when I started I finally I started the channel, and you said to women feeling more human. Because we go through so much, and we go through them alone, and we feel like we get dehumanized in most cases. And you said that these conversations are going to ensure that women feel human. Because we are human. We are human. So we'll have more conversations around fibroids. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask, definitely ask. Leave it in the comment section below, and we will try to answer as much as possible. I will have... Is your Instagram private?
Yes, it's private. It's very private. I don't even know the handle. It's very active, but it's very private.
But if there's more conversations, more questions, if there are any questions, I'll definitely direct them your way. But please do comment down below, do subscribe, and I hope that this was an informing session for you guys, and we will come back and see y'all later. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.